Okay, now I love this verse here. It's found in First Corinthians. It's a very, very powerful New Testament uh, scripture about administration. First Corinthians 12:28. Now, mind you, this is a powerful place where Paul is informing the Corinth church, the church of Corinth, on all sorts of spiritual matters. And the whole chapter starts off by saying, the actual Greek reads this way: I would not have you to be ignorant concerning the spiritual. Now, what Paul is saying is, I'm going to bring you insight, I'm going to give you understanding so that you will stay out of error. Now, in First Corinthians 12:28, we find a excuse me, we find a very powerful place in Scripture because, to me personally, um, what this chapter gives us is actually an order to administration. Now, you were like, what? An order? Yes, an order. Let me show you. It says, verse 28, and God has set some in the church, first apostles. Now, I'm going to draw some things here just to help us out here. First apostles. I'm going to draw them from bottom up. First apostles. Secondarily, prophets. Thirdly, teachers. Now, this is not a teaching of apostles or prophets or teachers. This is just an administrative teaching. Apostle, prophet, and teacher. Now watch this. Then he says, after that, so after that, there's a whole new layer. He says, after that, miracles. Man, I love this verse. It's so powerful. Then he says, then healings or gifts of healing. So let's just put G for gifts of healing. And he says, then, I mean, it's like he's going up the order here. Helps. And administration. Actually, governments, but it's okay. Then he says, tongues or diversity of tongues. Okay. Now watch this. I'm going to show you something here. Then of course he says, are all apostles, are all prophets, are all teachers? No way. He says, no way, but he's basically laying something out. Now I'm going to show you something here. What I believe God showed me is that we have 3 tiers here, possibly 4. Now, I'm going to have to show you that. Do you see that? Now, you have the first layer. Man, this is so sloppy. You have the first layer here, teacher or apostle, prophet, teacher, then miracles and healing, then helps and administration, then tongues. Now, I'm going to show you how that works. Now, let's start off again here. Let me try to get a little bit nicer handwriting. Oh, that's crooked. Nicer handwriting here. I think if I slow down, I'll be okay. Okay. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, down here, I want to call those apostles, prophets, and teachers. I want to call those gifts catalyst gifts. Now, this is important because most pastors feel they're called to, basically be catalysts. Now, what a catalyst does is, it's just like in chemistry. What a catalyst chemical does is it will evoke other chemicals, basically. Now, what a catalyst in this layer 1 down here, now mind you, we're still in 1 Corinthians 12:28. Now, you'll have to excuse all this. You're like, where are you getting this from? Well, this is kind of how administrators see things. We see things in a kind of strategy here. Now, catalysts, their basic function is going to be to generate life and activity. It's like to start the move of God. It's going to be to spark up activity, what God's doing. It's like whatever God is doing is going to spring forth. it's going to, just begin to come forth. Now, I'm going to show you here. What happens is they release the supernatural. Oh man, time to start over now. They release, but you saw the picture there. They release the supernatural. Now I'm going to show you, let's do it without brackets here. I'm going to show you something here. When they release the supernatural, although, this is C for catalyst, they are actually throwing up all sorts of things. Now here's what begins to happen. These eventually go high, and then they start to come back down, and they start coming back down on the pastor. Now, or on the leader. Now, what we have to do is come up with a strategic plan there on how to avoid that. Now, first of all, the catalyst creates activity. Now, what that does is the second level here is it allows the gifts of healing and miracles to begin to function. See the work there? So the more activity you create, you need to plug in this second tier of helpers, those that have passions and gifts of healing, and those who move in miracles. Now, your role is to start the move of God. Their role is to enhance the move of God. Now watch this. What will happen is you're saying, whoa, man, that's really going to increase. Yes, it will. What's going to happen is they're going to even take, it's like these 2 or 3 little arrows here, they will turn it into, 35 arrows. In other words, they will help enhance what God's doing. Once they get behind you, gift of healings and miracles, they will take this and create even more activity. So you're saying, oh boy, that's more work. Yes, it is. Activity takes a lot of work and actually a lot of energy. So what do? Well, you have the catalyst, you have the supernatural, then you have what I call the management gifts. Now, as things are coming up, you got right here, you're going to have people with helps and people with administration. Now, let me just say it this way. These 2 right here see activity. They see all sorts of things springing up. It's like everywhere. And you pastors, you know what I mean. It's like, people, the more God heals, the more God delivers, the more people need healing and deliverance and counseling and, help with their dreams and help with this and help with that. I know what that's like. Well, guess what? What's funny about these 2 giftings, helps and administrations, is when they see activity, they actually come alive. Ain't that funny? Go to the next video and I'm going to show you what happens there.